Blessing Krofegha, software engineer, a technical author at Smashing Magazine and Log Rockets. Of course, I'm a Nigerian, I'm black. All right, so I'm so excited to speak at this conference, June 10th conference 2020. And I'll be talking about is Headless CMS the future of development? Um, so what is traditional CMS? Yeah, at some point in time, I'm sure everybody must have come across traditional CMS like WordPress and Drawbar and the likes. So what it is simply a CMS that allows you to create, edit, and publish content in one single environment. What that means is that you have the front end and the back end coupled together in a single environment. Usually, the front end is most likely HTML and CSS plain format, and you have the back end, which is done with PHP. While this is really good, I feel like things are really advancing, and so we need a new breed of CMS. All right, so but then what's the problem of traditional CMS like WordPress? All right, so CMSs like WordPress and the rest are really plugin oriented, and so you have a website that has about 4, 5, 7 plugins together. Sometimes those plugins aren't even properly tested and can cause some security issues sometimes. And so you have this serious product in production, and then you're really going to be launching in a few days, and then all of a sudden somebody wants to really test stuff, and then boom, you receive the shock of your life. There's a downtime in your app. Why? Because a single error in a plugin that wasn't properly tested, and then you used it made that issue. While this is really, really funny, but I think it's a matter to really discuss about. And that's why I want to present to you today a new breed of CMS called Headless CMS. Yeah, so what is Headless CMS? Pretty funny name, yeah? So what it means really is that Headless CMS is pretty much a content repository that delivers content to any front-end framework or devices via an API. So what I'm saying therefore is this. So you have your front-end application built with React.js or AngularJS or Vue.js, whichever one really suits your make. And so I believe I'm talking to developers here, I'm talking to UI, UX designers, I'm talking to product managers and all of that. So you're conversant with frameworks. And so you have your front-end frameworks like React. And then you build, for instance, a shopping cart, a static shopping cart, a single page application, and you really want to consume APIs. And then you really don't have skills with Node.js or PHP or Ruby on Rails and everything. So, but you really need an API. What Headless CMS does is that it presents to you an API for you to consume. And so, what I'm saying in essence is this: the Headless CMS, all right, decouples your front end away from the back end, and so it separates them. So you have the business logic done already for you with Headless CMS, and then if you're a front end engineer, you do your static side with any framework of your choice. And if you ask me, I think that's really, really awesome. But the big question is, why do we need Headless CMS? I mean, a lot of us are really, really used to using traditional CMSs like WordPress and the likes. While this is really nice, I mean, WordPress for me is a good platform for building blogs and web applications. I mean, it's really nice that it helped a lot of us to quickly do things without having to write core crude logic. But why this is good, as we begin to evolve in content creation and in consuming more content, there's a need for us to scale without having to sleep and think about errors popping here and there the next morning. That's why Headless CMS is pretty much a good one to consider, because it's entirely separate from your front end application. In fact, you can have as many applications anywhere and still interface with it. It doesn't matter where it's hosted. So if you host your front end maybe in Netlify or in AWS or in Google Digital Ocean or something else, it really doesn't matter where it's hosted, all right? Because the backend does all of the database logic for you and everything. So all you need to do is just get the API endpoint and then consume data. And if you ask me, I think that's really, really nice. All right. So, but let's see a few comparison between traditional CMS and Headless CMS. All right, so yeah, so this is a graphic picture of what the traditional CMS looks like. And so you have the backend written with PHP, which I feel like a few of us really, I don't know, but then I left PHP about 3 years ago, and I'm a Node person. I do more of Node.js and React now. So you have the backend for a traditional CMS. You have the backend built with PHP. As a matter of fact, that's what you should use, or that's what if you're using CMSs like WordPress, that's what is available for you. You can't change anything. And then you have the front end all together in the same environment. All right. And then with the backend, you can manage your code. You can, manage your stuff, and then you have available to you a rich text editor to like something like what you see, what you get, VC in that format to display content to you. And this is really nice because you have everything together. But why this is an issue is because if there's a problem at the backend, it affects the entire application. Yeah. If there's a problem with the front end, it affects the entire application. And so there's really no room for creativity and customization, as it were. But here you have the Headless CMS. You have the backend business logic that manages the content and your database somewhere else with Headless CMS. And then you have the middleman, which is the API that would interact with your front-end application anywhere. Yeah, so you have, for instance, the front-end application built with, don't mind me, I love React, built with React.js, and it's hosted in Netlify, for instance. Yeah, and then you're planning to do this next generation e-commerce Amazon website. Yeah, and then you have CMSs. You have your Headless CMS, which helps you with the backend business logic without really having to write really any code. All right, you have it to you, and it gives to you an API. All right, that contains your data, and then your frontend is hosted somewhere in Netlify. So what you need to do really is just get the endpoint from the Headless CMS platform you'll be using, and then consume data. And so if you have issues with the front end, you deal with the front end. If you have issues with the backend, you go to the Headless CMS and deal with the backend. So issue anywhere wouldn't stop anything from working. So you can write your front end stuff without thinking about, oh, would I be having issues with the plugin? No. All right. So that's for me. I think that's it's like a dream come true for a lot of people. I'm sure it's a dream come true for you also listening to me. Yeah. So let's look at a few benefits. A few benefits of Headless CMS. First, you have faster development. Yeah, how do I mean by faster development? When you use Headless CMS approach on your web application, if you observe that because the front end is separated from the back end and they run differently, you have faster development. You really don't have anything depending on anything. So the front end is just by itself, hosted somewhere. It has no interference with the back end except via an API. So you have it, and it's really less expensive. Sometimes when you're using traditional CMSs like WordPress and Drupal, you really pay heavily out. You pay so much that you're really looking for an hosting provider that you really don't need you don't want to spend so much for. But sometimes that's a problem. But with Headless CMS, you really spend little and achieve more. Yeah, and also you have a greater scalability. Yeah, so you're able to scale an application because it's hosted in two different places. And I think that's really a dream come true if you ask me again. Yeah. Yeah. So the topic is Headless CMS, the future of development. I think it is because I mean businesses are really evolved. Like it has really, really evolved, and people want to ensure that content is delivered in virtually everywhere. So you want to ensure that content is delivered on a mobile application, on a POS machine, or a mobile web, a web application or a desktop application. Yeah, so you really want to deliver content anywhere. And so what Headless CMS does is that with an API, you can really deliver content anywhere. Yeah, you can use that API in a mobile application, in a web application, POS machine and whatever. So I think that's a big thing as compared to the normal traditional headless CMS. Yeah, so just in case you're thinking, makes sense, maybe I should consider using just any headless CMS around. Before you really go about that, I feel like there are a few things you need to consider. There are a lot though, but then just to mention a few because of time. What are those things to look out for if you really want to, choose LSCMS, anyone, whatever? You must ensure the following. Number one, you must ensure that your editors can manage all aspects of pages. Yeah, so you want to ensure that the LSCMS you'll be choosing can manage the name, can manage the search engine optimization, and can manage content very effectively. And you want to also ensure that headless CMS, all right, is capable of handling URL redirection somehow. Like so, you want to ensure that URL redirection is really specific and then it's properly managed for you. And of course, you want to ensure that headless CMS has a proper content architecture such that it's able to manage your entire application. So if you're depending on them to service your web application, your desktop application, or your mobile application, you want to ensure that they have that capacity enough to really service all of those platforms for you. Yeah, so if you're looking for an LSMS, there are a lot out there. There's Contentful, there's Graph CMS. Graph CMS is really cool if you are into GraphQL, and you may want to consider Graph CMS. You have Sanity, you have Butter CMS. So there's really a lot of CMS, but I've tried a few of them, and I think that Agility CMS is really a cool one because number one, it helps you with a global content delivery network. Yeah, so you can actually via a CDN you can actually host your static sites. Yeah, via a CDN, and of course it helps you with your content infrastructure. And it has really one of the things I really love Agility CMS for is that it has a really rich text editing support. Yeah, because that's what you really want to consider. You want to really create data without having to think about, okay, how's it supposed to go and all of that. Yeah, so it has that rich editing support, and it comes with a built-in page management system. Yeah, it does come with that. And I think one of the reasons why I really love Activity CMS is because it embraces the Jamstack approach. Yeah, it does. I mean, very recently, everybody really trying to adopt the Jamstack approach for their next big web application. I think um, Agility CMS stands out when it comes to Jamstack approaches, right? Because it helps you with it gives you the platform to really build Jamstack web applications with ease. It has support for Next.js, which is a static generator. It has support for Gatsby, and it's really a cool one. Yeah, so surprisingly, I got to meet a few of the staff, and then I've been using Agility CMS for some time now. It's really cool. And then, so if you really want to check out Agility CMS, just go to the site agilitycms.com, all right, and click on the request demo, fill out the form, and then of course they said that they really wanted to help, or rather, if you're trying to onboard on Agility CMS, you get a 50% off price, and so just by using the code June 10th. All right, so it's really a cool one. Yeah, so I wrote a few articles on Headless CMS and Jamstack. They're available at Smashing Magazine. Yeah, that's a link so you can actually go through it when you're alone to see a few things. So in conclusion, really, we've seen that Headless CMS can present to you one of the best platforms for building cross-platform applications, whether it's a mobile app, whether it's a desktop application, or whether it's a web application. It's really a nice one. So I really can't tell you to migrate right now from a traditional CMS like WordPress to a less CMS, but I feel like you really haven't heard the benefit it has, haven't seen how flexible and how creativity you can actually be with a less CMS. I feel like if I were you, already I have a few of my products, my personal stuff, migrated from traditional CMSs like WordPress down to Headless CMS. And of course, I use React and for my front end and all of that. So I think that's a cool one you really want to consider. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening to my short talk. Yeah, I'm so excited to meet with you. So you can hook up with me on Twitter at bveloper. Yeah, so pardon my Nigerian set. Okay, so thank you so much for listening and have a nice day. Bye.